The desperate arrival, the message that changed everything, the emergency beacon. Cut through music, the darkness of space like a knife through silk, it carried a signal that had never been sent before in the 8,000-year history of the VRN Empire, a signal of complete and total desperation, a call for help to a species the VWin had always considered beneath them. Ambassador Thien Kali stood in the command center of his diplomatic vessel, watching the blue and green planet grow larger in the viewing screen, home to the humans, the species his people had rejected from the Galactic Union not once, not twice, but 5 times over the past 3 centuries. His scales, normally a brilliant purple that showed his noble bloodline, had faded to a dull gray, the color of defeat, the fall of giants. 3 months ago, the VRN Empire controlled 47 star systems. They had the most powerful fleet in the known galaxy. Their technology was considered unmatched. They had standing armies that numbered in the billions. They were the cornerstone of the Galactic Union, the organization that kept peace among the stars for thousands of years. Today, only 7 of those systems remained free. The rest had fallen to an enemy that appeared without warning, without mercy, and without any interest in negotiation. The Devourers, they called themselves, though calling them by name gave them more respect than they deserved. They were monsters, pure and simple. Vern's assistant, a young scholar named V, approached him carefully. The young Veruin's hands trembled as he held a data tablet. Ambassador, the human defense station is responding to our approach. They are asking for our intentions. Tell them, the said quietly, that the VRN Empire requests an audience. Tell them we come seeking help. Vaya's eyes went wide. Help from humans? But Ambassador, the Council always said that humans were too primitive, too dangerous, too unpredictable to join the Union. The Council is dead free. Vern's voice was flat and emotionless. They died 3 weeks ago when the Devourers destroyed our home world. Everything we built over millennia gone in a matter of hours. Our mighty fleets destroyed, our weapons useless, our pride shattered. Humanity's response, the docking procedure was surprisingly smooth. Human technology had always been considered basic compared to VR-1N systems. Their ships were smaller, their weapons less sophisticated, their science generations behind the Union standards, yet their station was clean, efficient, and well-organized. Everything worked exactly as it should. When the airlock opened, Vern expected coldness. He expected anger. He expected the humans to turn him away and remind him of every insult the VRN had ever spoken. Instead, he was greeted by a woman in a simple gray uniform with kind eyes and a professional smile. Ambassador Vern Callas, she said, extending her hand. The human gesture of greeting. I am Commander Sarah Mitchell. Welcome to Defense Station Armstrong. You look exhausted. When did you last? The question caught him completely off guard. Not why are you here or what do you want, but a simple inquiry about his well-being. The felt something crack inside his chest, something that had been holding him together through weeks of horror and loss. I do not remember, he admitted, his voice breaking slightly. Then let us find you a comfortable place to sit, Commander Mitchell said gently. You can tell us everything, the story of the Devourers. They led him to a conference room. It was simple but comfortable. hot drinks were offered, food was brought, humans sat across from him with patient expressions waiting for him to speak. When he was ready, no rush, no judgment, just quiet compassion. Theron took a deep breath and began. The devourers came from beyond our map space. We had no warning. Our long-range sensors detected nothing unusual. Then suddenly, they were there. Hundreds of ships, thousands of ships, ships unlike anything we had ever seen. He activated a holographic display showing the devastation, world after world reduced to lifeless husks, fleets that had never known defeat scattered like dust in the wind. They do not communicate. Thene continued. They do not negotiate. They simply arrive, destroy everything, harvest the remains, and move on to the next target. We threw everything we had at them, our best ships, our finest warriors, our most advanced weapons. Nothing worked. Commander Mitchell leaned forward, studying the images carefully. How many systems have they taken? 40 systems from the VR-1N alone. Over 200 systems across the entire Union. Trillions dead, countless more displaced. The Union's combined fleet has lost 90% of its ships. We have nothing left to fight with. The question that mattered, a military officer sitting beside Commander Mitchell spoke up. He was older, with gray hair and a chest covered in medals. Ambassador, with all due respect, why come to Earth? Humanity was rejected from the Union. You said our technology was too primitive. You said our military was too weak. You said we had nothing to offer the galaxy. The look down at his hands. This was the moment where he had to swallow every bit of pride his species had ever possessed. Because we were wrong, he said simply. And because I have heard stories. Commander Mitchell's expression did not change. What kind of stories? Stories that travel through smuggler networks and trading posts. Whispers that humans are not what they appear to be. That the small fleet you show the galaxy is not your real strength. That somewhere, hidden from everyone, humanity has built something else, something powerful. The room went very quiet. Commander Mitchell exchanged a glance with the older officer. Something passed between them. Some unspoken communication. Those are just rumors, Ambassador, she said carefully. Surely you do not base your hopes on rumors. The moment of truth. Theron stood up from his chair. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to remain standing. Then slowly and deliberately, he did something no VRN had ever done before. A human, he bowed. Not a polite bow of greeting, but a full bow of complete submission. His forehead nearly touched the table. I am begging, he said, his voice raw with emotion. The Viran Empire is begging. The Galactic Union is begging. My children are hiding in underground shelters right now, waiting to die. My mate is missing, probably dead. My world is ashes. The stories are true. Please help us. If they are false, then I apologize for wasting your time, and I will leave to die with what remains of my people. Silence filled the room. Theron kept his head down, not daring to look up. He had given everything he had. There was nothing left but to wait for their answer. Finally, Commander Mitchell spoke. Wait here, Ambassador. I need to make some calls. She stood and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. For what it is worth, Ambassador, I am sorry for everything your people have suffered. No one deserves what the Devourers have done. Then she was gone. Theron remained Standing, his body shaking with exhaustion and emotion, V came to his side offering support. What happens? Now, the young scholar whispered. Now. The said quietly, we wait and we hope that humanity is more forgiving than we ever were. Outside the window, Earth continued its slow rotation, beautiful and peaceful, home to a species the galaxy had always underestimated, species that might be their only hope for survival. The stars watched in silence, waiting to see what would happen next. The awakening of legends, the signal that changed lives. Admiral James Corrigan was teaching a class on ancient military strategy at New Sydney University when his wrist communicator vibrated. It was a quiet buzz, nothing dramatic, just a simple vibration pattern. But that pattern had not been used in 40 years. 3 short pulses, 2 long pulses, 3 short pulses. Again, the code that meant only one thing. The long night has ended. Dawn is here. James stopped mid-sentence, his hand frozen while pointing at a holographic display of the Battle of Thermopylae. His students looked at him with confusion. The old professor never stopped talking. He loved history more than anything. They had never seen him pause like this. Class dismissed, James said quietly. His voice sounded strange. Different. All assignments are canceled. Take the rest of the week off. But Professor Corrigan, one student, protested. We have exams next week. No, James said, and now his voice carried an authority that made everyone sit up straight. You do not. Goodbye, everyone. It has been an honor teaching you. He walked out of the classroom without another word, leaving 30 confused students behind. Within the hour, James Corrigan had resigned from the university, closed his apartment, and boarded a shuttle heading away from the colony. His destination was classified. His reason for leaving unexplained. To the outside world, it looked like a sudden mental breakdown. But James knew better. He had been waiting for this signal his entire life. A galaxy of secret. The same signal reached thousands of people across human space. A doctor performing surgery on Mars suddenly handed his instruments to a colleague and walked out. A construction engineer building orbital platforms around Jupiter submitted her resignation. Midship, a retired diplomat living peacefully on Europa packed a single bag and disappeared without telling her family where she was going. To the casual observer, it looked like chaos, some kind of mass hysteria affecting certain humans. News networks started reporting on the strange phenomenon. Psychologists offered theories about collective stress or some unknown virus affecting mental health, but none of them understood the truth. These people were not having breakdowns. They were answering a call they had trained their entire lives to receive. The journey into darkness. Back on Defense Station Armstrong, Ambassador Theron had been waiting for 6 hours. Commander Mitchell had not returned. Other human officers brought him food and water. They were polite and professional, but they answered no questions. V paced nervously, his young face tight with worry. Ambassador, what if they refuse us? What if they decide we deserve our fate? Then we will die, knowing we tried everything. The replied. He felt strangely calm now. Waiting had given him time to accept whatever came next. The door finally opened. Commander Mitchell entered, followed by the older military officer and someone new, a man who looked ancient. His hair was pure white. His face was covered in lines and wrinkles. He walked with a cane slowly and carefully, but his eyes were sharp and clear and filled with something that made Thuron's skin prickle. Power, purpose, danger. Ambassador Theron Callas, Commander Mitchell said formally. This is Admiral James Corian. He has come out of retirement to speak with you. Theron stood and bowed respectfully. Admiral, I am honored, said Ambassador. James said, his voice surprisingly strong. We have much to discuss and little time for formality. He lowered himself into a chair with a grunt. Commander Mitchell tells me you came asking for help. She also tells me you heard stories about humanity's hidden strength. Yes, Admiral, stories that seem impossible. But I have nowhere else to turn. James studied him for a long moment. Before we continue, I need to know something. Why should we help you? Your people rejected us, mocked us, called us primitive and dangerous. You denied us a seat at the Union not once but 5 times. You treated us like children playing with toys. So tell me, Ambassador, why should we risk human lives for people who never showed us any respect? The honest answer. Theron felt anger flash through him, then shame, then finally acceptance. You should not, he said quietly. We do not deserve your help. Everything you said is true. We were arrogant, we were cruel, we looked at humanity and saw only what we wanted to see. We are irrelevant. He met James' eyes directly. But Admiral, the Devourers do not care about politics. They do not care who is right or wrong. They destroy everything. If they finish with Union space, they will not stop. They will keep coming. Eventually they will reach Earth, and when they do, humanity will face the same choice we faced. Fight with everything you have and still lose, or run and watch your worlds burn behind you. James nodded slowly. So you are saying this is not just about saving your people. This is about stopping a threat to everyone. Yes. But I will not lie to you, Admiral. My reasons are not noble. I want to save my people. I want my children to live. I want my species to survive. If that also saves humanity, then good. But I am asking for help because I am desperate, not because I suddenly respect you. Smile tugged at the corner of James's mouth. Thank you for your honesty. I respect that more than false friendship. He stood up slowly. Come with me. Ambassador, it is time you saw something that very few non-humans have ever seen. Into the hidden dark they took a military shuttle away from the station. This ship was different from the civilian craft Thuron had arrived on. It was sleek, fast, and covered in weapons. The pilot was a young woman who flew with the confidence of someone who had trained for years in secret. The shuttle dove toward the outer edge of the solar system, past Neptune, past Pluto, into the Kuiper belt where billions of ice chunks drifted in the cold darkness. The pilot entered a code into her console. Suddenly, space itself seemed to ripple. Hidden sensors deactivated, camouflage fields dropped, and there, floating in the darkness, was a structure so massive that Thene gasped out loud. It was a shipyard, but not like any shipyard he had ever seen. It was carved into an asteroid the size of a small moon. Hangar doors stretched for Killam. Docking platforms could hold vessels of any size. Defense turrets bristled from every surface, and lights, thousands of lights illuminating the darkness. Welcome to Outpost Jericho, James said quietly, one of 12 such facilities hidden throughout your solar system. We built the first one 320 years ago. We have been expanding them ever since. How Thern whispered, how did no one? No, we scan your system constantly. Our sensors would have detected this. You scan for what you expected to. See simple human technology, basic. Military installations, you never looked. For something hidden because you never believed humans were capable of hiding. Anything, the shuttle landed in a massive hangar. The doors were so large. They could have swallowed the entire diplomatic vessel. Armed guards and advanced armor stood at every entrance. Their weapons were like nothing the Union had ever developed, slick, efficient, deadly, the Hall of Legends. They walked through corridors carved from solid rock. The walls were lined with screens showing ship designs, weapon specifications, tactical displays. Everything was written in human languages, but Thern could understand enough to know he was looking at technology far beyond anything the Galactic Union possessed, energy weapons that could punch through shields thought to be impenetrable, hull armor that could regenerate damage, engines that bent space in ways Union scientists said was impossible, and stranger things, weapons based on theories Thern had never even heard of. How long, he asked, his voice shaking. How long have you been preparing? Since the day we first met another species, James replied. We learned quickly that the galaxy was not friendly, that being weak meant being prey, so we made a choice. We would never be weak, but we would also never show our strength. We would smile at insults, we would accept rejection, we would build small fleets of simple ships and let everyone think that was all we had. They reached a massive blast door. James placed his hand on a scanner. The door recognized him and began to open with a deep, grinding sound. Beyond was darkness, complete and total darkness that seemed to go on forever. And while the galaxy looked down on us, James continued, we built something else, something secret, something powerful, something we prayed we would never need to use. The lights came on, the legs gave out. He fell to his knees, his mouth open in shock. Before him stretched rows of ships. Hundreds of ships, each one was enormous, each one bristled with weapons, each one bore a name painted in letters 10 tall: Odyssey, Valkyrie, Phoenix, Beowulf, Achilles, Muir, Excalibur, Titan, Prometheus, Ragnarok. Names from human mythology and history. Names that carried weight and meaning. Names that spoke of heroes and legends and gods. The fleet of last resort, 300. Capital ship, James said, his voice echoing in the vast hangar, 2,000. Support vessels. Technology we developed over 3 centuries in complete secrecy. Weapons the galaxy abandoned as impossible. Crews trained from birth to operate systems that do not officially exist. The could not speak, could not move, could not process what he was seeing. The sheer scale of it, the impossible secret humanity had kept, the power they had hidden while the galaxy mocked them. We call it the fleet of last resort, James continued. We hoped this day would never come. We hoped the galaxy would find peace, that threats could be contained through diplomacy, that we could eventually reveal our technology and share it with everyone, make everyone stronger together. But you kept it ready, Thern finally managed to say. Always for 320 years, every generation trained the next. Every family kept the secret. Millions of humans lived and died, never able to tell anyone what they sacrificed for. They are heroes whose names will never Be known, James knelt beside Thern, his old knees creaking. We made terrible enemies, Ambassador, we hold grudges. We remember every insult. We do not forgive easily. He placed a hand on Thern's shoulder, but we make better friends. And when someone needs saving, when the galaxy faces a threat that could destroy everything, we answer the call, not because we have to, not because we expect gratitude, but because that is who we are. The promise. Tears ran down the face, cutting tracks through the dust and grime. You will help us truly. The recall signal has been sent. Crews are assembling as we speak. Within 72 hours, this fleet will launch for the first time in history. We will find the Devourers. We will stop them one way or another. James stood, offering his hand. They took it and let the old admiral pull him to his feet. For 3 centuries we let the galaxy think we were weak. We smiled at insults. We bowed to arrogance. And we built. Now the time for pretending is over. He turned to face the endless rows of ships, each one a weapon of unimaginable power. Together they were a force that could reshape the galaxy. Thank you, Thern whispered. Thank you, Savior. Thanks for after the victory. James replied, your people are still dying. My people will soon be dying beside them. But together we will show the Devourers what happens when they threaten not just one species, but the entire galaxy. He began walking toward the nearest ship. Its name was painted on the hull in letters that seemed to glow with their own light. Phoenix, the bird that rises from ashes, the symbol of rebirth and renewal. Come, Ambassador, James called over his shoulder. We have a war to win and legends to fulfill. Thern followed, his heart's pounding with something he had almost forgotten. Oh, above them the ships waited in silence. Legends made real, power forged in secret. Humanity's hidden strength finally revealed, and soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when you underestimated the species from Earth. The desperate plea had been answered. The awakening had begun. And the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what would come.